Okay, my name is Patricia Sides. I go by Pat. It's Patriciasides, and I'm the archivist here at Willard Library.
Pat, talk to me a little bit about the history. I mean, give me a little history lesson on the Willard Library. Just tell me tell me the history.
Well, of course, it has its origins in a man named Willard Carpenter who came to Evansville in the 1830s when Evansville was still very young. It was a city of a lot of potential opportunity, and he seemed to have a Midas touch, I guess you could say. Everything he touched turned to gold, and he was very successful. Later in his life, as he saw, I think, his life beginning to slip away, he wanted to give back to the community. I think those are his words. And he toyed with several ideas, including building a hospital. And he did eventually make possible the acquisition of the old Marine Hospital to the Daughters of Charity, which is today still St. Mary's Hospital. He did a lot of wonderful things, but Willard Library is one of his most successful legacies. And the idea pretty much began to germinate in the 1870s, and he gathered a board of trustees. Building commenced. Hard times put a delay to that for a few years, but by the early 1880s, the building was completed under his careful supervision. He was here about every day, inspecting the construction and making sure everything was just right. And unfortunately, he did not live to see the building dedicated. He was in his 80s and in not good health, and he died shortly before the formal dedication of the building in March of 1885 to a large crowd that gathered on the second floor in the middle of a terrible storm. It was a big day for Evansville, and for a lot of reasons. It was the first really public library building, and it was open to all facets of the community, men, women, people of all colors. That was a really radical concept back in the 1870s, and we've been here ever since. And we've been serving the public. We've never closed down, and we've not only been here, we're picking up momentum once again. We're adding on. It will be our first addition to the building, and he would have approved. He allowed for that, and we look forward to another 100-something or more years.
Talk to me about how the building has evolved in that time, or I don't say the building has evolved, because obviously it really hasn't much, but how the way the building is used has evolved over the years.
Yes, the physical building itself has not changed too much. In fact, because it is on the National Register, we take good care to preserve it. However, there's not much written history about the early years of Willard, but from pictures I've seen, we do have a few early photographs. It seems that on the main floor here, what we call the adult services floor today, books may have been kept in stacks, which maybe were not totally accessible to the public. Librarians would have to go back and pull a book. Today, people can just go browse the stacks and pull their own. The second floor has been in use regularly since about the mid-1970s, and that's almost a century after the library opened. And again, it's not real clear what it was used for. I think storage a lot, maybe overflow of books that librarians would go retrieve. It's possible that's where some of the artwork was displayed when the Evansville Museum temporarily dispersed in around 1910. They went a few years without a home and had to scatter their collections. And then in around 1976, we opened up a genealogy floor. And it probably gets as much or more use than any floor in the library today.
Talk to me about the genealogy floor, where that happened, and how much time people spend it. I mean, you mentioned that it's a very time-consuming thing. How popular is that, and tell me a little bit about that.
Well, genealogy, some people call it a hobby. Some people to some people, it's a passion. A lot of people are interested in it nationally. And it opened with the strong support of the Tri-State Genealogical Society. I have to mention them and give them credit. A lot of dedicated members. It's a very strong group over the years, and it's still going strong. It still meets here. They've donated a lot of books, a lot of time, a lot of help, expertise. They like to help people research. Our staff is limited in size, so at times we get help from them. They offer programs, and it's been a great, I guess you could call it marriage. We get people coming in from all over the country on a few occasions. Some people from abroad have come here. It's sort of interesting, that a lot of Americans trace their heritage back to other countries, Europe, Africa, or wherever. And sometimes we've had people come over here who were born in Europe, but they say, I know that some of my ancestors used to live here in Evansville, Indiana, and that's interesting too. So we help them find information, look into the old records and see what we have. So it keeps us busy. And when people aren't on the floor, we're answering a lot of telephone and email requests for information from all over the country.
Why is it important that we preserve buildings like Willard Library?
It's of course, a tangible part of our past. It represents a lot of things. It will mean different things to different people. It's still in use. It's always been a library. Some people think originally it was one of our great historic mansions. It's not. It's a library, and it served a very specific function at the time it opened. It still plays an important role in the community. It serves a lot of people in a lot of different ways. Libraries have evolved tremendously over the years, and especially I'd say in the past decade. We offer a lot of services we didn't used to serve. It's also sort of a memorial to people like Willard Carpenter, who helped build this city. He was in that generation that came up, and by the time he died in the 1880s, in the post-Civil War years, Evansville was booming. Its economy, buildings were going up, population was growing very quickly, and he sort of represents that era. But there's still that strong continuity up to today. How some things change, but they don't change. And I think people need to know about their past and what's happened. And there's a lot of pride to be taken here in just Evansville alone, and old buildings, or maybe they're just sites that are vacant now, but to know what was there and to learn about it, know what our ancestors did, what has happened, what the city has accomplished, what we're capable of doing, just things like that, instill some pride. And I think people need to know their history.
You, in the meeting the other day, were one of the people who wrote the Old Courthouse as the most significant historical building in the area. Could you tell me why?
Well, of course, it's a landmark, and maybe overall the most recognized landmark because it's been here for so long. And it's truly a public building where a lot of people over the generations have gone there for different transactions, different business, different activities, so they can identify that. Part of it is the, location in downtown Evansville, the oldest part of the city. And, of course, its size. It's architecturally very noteworthy. They don't build courthouses like that anymore. It's been pretty well preserved over the years in different waves of renovations. And it's clearly recognizable. It's something people can say, this is ours, and courthouses are just pretty much the center of activity in any community.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to say about this building? Willard Library, or just about why buildings should be, why we care about this?
Well, I guess it goes again back to sort of, it's important to remember our past. When I talk about preserving buildings or preserving old photos, which I work with here at Willard, any vestiges of our past, I tell people, I sort of liken it to their own situations or their own families. Think of what it'd be like in your family or in your situation if you had amnesia and didn't know anything about yourself. You had no family albums, no pictures to look at, no memories to recall. You wouldn't have a sense of who you were or where you've been, things like that. And with physical reminders like buildings, I think that's really important. And especially today, I think our setting is interesting. It's really changed. We're surrounded by a factory, although part of it, the back part here, the old Fendrick cigar factory, that's historic. But here we are, this beautiful old Victorian building sitting here like an oasis in this urban setting, which has changed immensely since it was built. So it's interesting to compare and contrast and see where we've been. And of course, the building itself as a library and all the services it's offered and still continues to offer is important to the community.